This sign means A. There is a detour ahead. B. You must stop for flaggers. C. The road ahead is closed to traffic. D. The highway ahead is undergoing maintenance. D. The highway ahead is undergoing maintenance. Construction and maintenance signs are orange-colored and are used to notify drivers of unusual or potentially dangerous conditions in or near work areas. This sign warns drivers that they are approaching a construction zone and that they should prepare to lower their speed and drive with extraordinary caution. When getting ready to change lanes, you should A. Check your side view mirror. B. Check your rear view mirror. C. Quickly turn your head to check for other vehicles. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Before changing lanes, check your side and rear view mirrors for traffic approaching you from behind. Just before you begin moving into the other lane, quickly glance over your shoulder and check for any vehicles that may be in your blind spot. A driver approaching a flashing red traffic signal must A. Slow down at the light. B. Drive carefully without stopping. C. Merge to the right. D. Stop before entering the intersection. D. Stop before entering the intersection. A flashing red light means that you must stop, yield to traffic and pedestrians, and go only when it is safe. At a railroad crossing, a flashing red light indicates that a train is approaching. Yield to the train, and go only when the lights have stopped flashing and all other active warning devices deactivate. When driving on major highways. A. Stay alert. B. Keep your eyes moving. C. Be ready to react to road hazards. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. It is important to stay alert on highways and be ready to react to unexpected hazards. To avoid highway hypnosis, you should avoid looking at any one thing for more than a few seconds.
Want to ace your DMV test? Click on the link below and get your guaranteed cheat sheet.
An inattentive driver is a driver who A. Stares at objects off the roadway or daydreams while driving. B. Maintains eye contact during a conversation with a passenger while driving. C. Only watches the vehicle ahead of their vehicle. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Do not become distracted by looking at passengers, attempting to find something in your vehicle, looking at reading material, sightseeing, or daydreaming while driving. Continue scanning the road, checking your mirrors, and looking at the instrument panel at regular intervals. Developing these safe habits will keep you attentive as a driver. You are approaching a railroad crossing that has no visible gates or flashing lights, but has a standard crossbuck. You should A. Approach all tracks with extreme caution and cross only when you know that there is no train coming. B. Turn your radio down to hear if there may be an approaching train. C. Only continue once cleared to do so by a flagger, if applicable. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. You must approach all railroad crossings with extreme caution and cross only when you know that no train is coming from either direction. If there is a flagger at a crossing, you must obey all of their instructions. To reduce the effects of headlight glare at night, you should look A. Straight ahead. B. Over your shoulder. C. At the center of the road. D. To the right edge of the road. D. To the right edge of the road. If oncoming drivers do not dim their headlights for you, keep your eyes on the right side of the road ahead. Do not look directly at the oncoming headlights because the glare may blind you for several seconds. You should be cautious when passing a bicycle because A. You are moving faster than the bicycle. B. The bicycle always has the right of way. C. Oncoming traffic may not see you pull out to pass the bicycle. D. The cyclist may have to swerve into traffic to avoid an object on the road. D. The cyclist may have to swerve into traffic to avoid an object on the road. You should always be cautious when passing a bicycle because the cyclist may have to swerve into traffic to avoid an object on the road. Always be particularly careful when driving near bicyclists. You must yield for emergency vehicles? A. Under no circumstances. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. C. Only when other vehicles yield. D. None of the above. B. When you see a flashing red or blue light or hear a siren. You must yield the right of way to any emergency vehicle that is using its siren or flashing lights. What may help drivers conserve gasoline? A. Sitting in their driveways with their cars running. B. Accelerating quickly. C. Slowing down gradually. D. Braking abruptly. C. Slowing down gradually. Every time you have to stop quickly, it takes time and fuel to accelerate and get your vehicle back up to the speed of traffic. Drivers who look far ahead of their vehicles can slow down gradually or change lanes to avoid unnecessary braking, leading to better gas mileage. This sign means A. Lane ends. B. No right turn. C. Slippery when wet. D. Two-way traffic. A. Lane ends. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow and black. This sign tells drivers that a lane is ending and that they should prepare to allow traffic to merge safely. If you need to drive in foggy weather, A. Turn on your low-beam headlights. B. Turn on your hazard lights. C. It is okay to drive at the maximum speed limit. D. Do not drive at a speed above 10 miles per hour. A. Turn on your low-beam headlights. You are required to use your headlights during the day when visibility is reduced to 500 feet or less. When you first turn on your headlights, be sure they are adjusted to the low beam setting. Using high beams in fog or rain will cause the light to reflect back into your eyes, lowering visibility even more. An end school zone sign indicates A. That the speed limit is 20 miles per hour. B. The beginning of a reduced speed zone. C. The increased possibility of encountering pedestrians. D. The end of a reduced speed zone. D. The end of a reduced speed zone. Do not exceed the school zone speed limit during indicated times. The end of a reduced speed school zone will be indicated by an end school zone regulatory sign. While driving, your wheels slip off the edge of the road. You should A. Jerk the steering wheel to force the vehicle back onto the pavement. B. Speed up and steer back onto the pavement gradually. C. Slam on your brakes and stop. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. D. Slow down by gently using the brakes. Turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement at a safe speed. If your vehicle begins to leave the road, continue to drive with the wheels off the pavement and reduce your speed by gently applying the brakes. When at a safe speed, turn the steering wheel to return to the pavement. Do not attempt to force your vehicle back onto the pavement by sharply turning the steering wheel. Children are required to wear their seat belts? A. Anytime they are in a moving car. B. If their parents think they should. C. If they choose to do so. D. Only if they weigh under 100 pounds. A. Anytime they are in a moving car. Florida law requires that a fastened seat belt must be worn in all motor vehicles on public roadways by the driver and passengers in the front seat. All children under the age of 18 are also required to wear their fastened seat belts, regardless of where they are seated in the vehicle. While driving, you come upon a sign displaying the words "Reduced speed, 35 miles per hour." This means A. That the new 35 miles per hour speed limit begins at this sign. B. That the new 35 miles per hour speed limit begins at the next speed limit sign. C. That you have plenty of time to slow down before the reduced speed zone. D. That you should reduce your speed to 35 miles per hour, but only under poor weather conditions. A. That the new 35 miles per hour speed limit begins at this sign. Reduced speed signs inform drivers that they must reduce their speeds. If a new speed limit is posted on one of these signs, the new speed limit begins at the sign. When meeting a car with blinding headlights, you should A. Use your bright lights until the other vehicle dims theirs. B. Flash your lights on and off to warn the other driver. C. Dim your lights and then speed up to pass quickly. D. Look toward the right side of the road. D. Look toward the right side of the road. If a vehicle comes toward you with its high beams on, look away from the headlights and toward the right side of the road until the car has passed. This will keep you from being blinded. When in a travel lane on the roadway. A. You may stop to drop off passengers. B. You may stop to look up an address. C. You may make a U-turn or back up if you get on the wrong entrance ramp of the freeway. D. Don't stop for any reason. Keep moving until you can safely pull off the road. D. Don't stop for any reason. Keep moving until you can safely pull off the road. You should not stop in a travel lane for any reason. Instead, keep moving until you can safely pull off of the road. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up. Go to the next turn or exit or where you can safely turn around. This sign means A. Sharp turn ahead, slow down. B. Work crew ahead. C. Side road. D. Playground ahead. A. Sharp turn ahead, slow down. Warning signs prepare drivers for upcoming road conditions and hazards and are usually yellow with black markings. This sign warns drivers that there is an upcoming sharp turn and that they should lower their speed accordingly. This sign is a A. Service sign. B. Regulatory sign. C. Warning sign. D. Stop sign. C. Warning sign. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped and yellow with black lettering or symbols. They warn drivers about special situations or potential hazards ahead. A fully loaded tractor-trailer traveling at 55 miles per hour could take up to fill in the blank to come to a complete stop. A. 50 feet. B. 125 feet. C. 400 feet. D. 750 feet. C. 400 feet. Tractor-trailers take longer distances to stop than smaller cars traveling at the same speed. A fully loaded tractor-trailer may take almost 400 feet to come to a complete stop when driving at 55 miles per hour. You may park or stop along the shoulder of the freeway. A. As long as you turn on your four-way emergency flashers. B. If no part of your vehicle is on the road. C. If you need to look at a map for directions. D. Only if you have an emergency. D. Only if you have an emergency. It is prohibited to park on the shoulder of a freeway, except in an emergency. You come to an intersection with a flashing red light. You must A. Slow down and drive carefully through the intersection. B. Turn either right or left, since the road is blocked ahead. C. Stop at the intersection and wait for a flashing green light. D. Stop at the intersection, then proceed as traffic allows. D. Stop at the intersection, then proceed as traffic allows. A flashing red light means that you must come to a full stop, and then proceed when the way is clear. Always signal when A. Changing lanes. B. Pulling into or out of a parking space. C. Pulling into traffic from an alley or parking area. D. All of the above. You have the right of way when turning left on which of the following traffic signals? A. A solid green light. B. A flashing yellow light. C. A green arrow pointing left. D. A flashing red light. C. A green arrow pointing left. A green steady arrow means you may pass through the intersection in the direction that the arrow is pointing. Oncoming traffic is required to stop for turning traffic. If two vehicles arrive to an uncontrolled intersection at the same time, A. The largest vehicle has the right of way. B. The car on the left has the right of way. C. The car on the left shall yield to the car on the right. D. The car on the right shall yield to the car on the left. C. The car on the left shall yield to the car on the right. If two vehicles arrive at the same time to an uncontrolled intersection, the driver on the left must yield to the driver on the right. The driver on the left may then proceed when it is safe to do so. This sign means A. A divided highway ends. B. A one-way street begins. C. A one-way street ends. D. A divided highway begins. D. A divided highway begins. This sign indicates that the road ahead becomes a divided highway. Keep to the right of the divider or median. This road sign means A. Hunting area. B. State park. C. Deer crossing. D. Wildlife preserve. C. Deer crossing. This sign warns that deer cross the roadway in the area. You should slow down, be alert, and be ready to stop. On a freeway, you realize you missed your turn or exit. You should A. Make the turn quickly from your lane of travel. B. Stop and back up. C. Continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. D. Signal other drivers to stop so you can turn. C. Continue driving until you reach the next turn, exit, or other location where you can safely turn around. If you miss your turn or exit, do not back up, but go on to the next turn or exit where you can safely turn around. It is illegal to back up on a shoulder or a freeway. The most common color of warning signs is A. Red, B. Yellow, C. Green, D. Blue. B. Yellow. Most warning signs are diamond-shaped and yellow with black markings. These signs warn drivers about unexpected conditions that may not be readily apparent. When a drawbridge signal is red, you should A. Come to a complete stop. B. Quickly speed up. C. Proceed with caution. D. Stop only if you see a boat. A. Come to a complete stop. If a drawbridge signal is red, come to a complete stop at the marked stop line. The bridge is in operation and the roadway is closed to all pedestrian and motor vehicle traffic. Fill in the blank. Greatly increase stopping distances and severity of crashes. A. High speeds. B. Slow speeds. C. Night drives. D. Uphill inclines. A. High speeds. High speeds greatly increase stopping distances and severity of crashes. The faster you drive, the greater the impact or striking power of your vehicle, should you be involved in a collision. If someone is driving aggressively behind you, you should A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. B. Stare at the driver as he or she is passing you. C. Speed up as he or she is passing you. D. Block the passing lane. A. Try to get out of the aggressive driver's way. If you encounter an aggressive driver, you should make every attempt to get out of their way. You should avoid making eye contact with a hostile driver. Challenging a hostile driver by speeding up may only make them angrier, thereby increasing their danger. This road sign means A. The road ahead turns sharply right, then left. B. The road ahead turns sharply left, then right. C. The road ahead curves to the left. D. Construction ahead. A. The road ahead turns sharply right, then left. This sign indicates that the road ahead will turn sharply to the right and then to the left. As you drive, you're required to stop your vehicle A. At an intersection with a stop sign. B. Where there is a red light. C. When a traffic officer orders you to stop. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Situations where motorists are required to stop include approaching intersections with stop signs, approaching intersections where a red light is either flashing or illuminated, or any time when a traffic officer orders your vehicle to stop. When approaching a steady green traffic light, drivers should A. Continue driving, unless there are vehicles or pedestrians already in the intersection. B. Stop if a police officer is nearby. C. Treat the intersection like a four-way stop. D. Come to a complete stop before proceeding. A. Continue driving, unless there are vehicles or pedestrians already in the intersection. When approaching an intersection with a steady green traffic light, Yield to pedestrians in the crosswalk and vehicles still in the intersection. You may continue driving, but should approach the intersection at a speed that will allow you to slow down and stop if the light changes before you get there. You may not cross a single broken white or yellow line. A. When doing so would interfere with traffic. B. When turning left into a driveway. C. When the car in front of you is disabled. D. When passing to the right on a one-way street. A. When doing so would interfere with traffic. You may cross a single broken line to pass or change lanes as long as you can do so safely and without interfering with traffic. When you double the speed of a car, you increase the potential force of impact by A. 2 times. B. 3 times. C. 4 times. D. Nothing. C. 4 times. The faster you drive, the greater the impact or striking power of your vehicle. When you double the speed of a car, you increase its force of impact by 4 times. On the freeway, you see a merging traffic sign. You should A. Honk at incoming traffic. B. Always remain at your present speed. C. Speed up to avoid congesting traffic. D. Move to another lane, if safe, to let traffic enter. D. Move to another lane, if safe, to let traffic enter. When on a roadway with 2 or more lanes, you should make room for entering vehicles. If there is no one driving next to you, move over one lane. When approaching a railroad crossing warning sign. A. Be ready to drive faster than the train. B. Be prepared to stop if a train is nearby. C. Look for a way around any lowered gates. D. Assume no trains are nearby and continue driving normally. B. Be prepared to stop if a train is nearby. Railroad crossing warning signs are used to warn drivers of the possibility of a train. Drivers should obey all railroad crossing warning signs and never go around barriers or disregard the warning sign. Alcohol causes A. Loss of concentration. B. Poor coordination. C. Slower judgment. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. Consuming even a small amount of alcohol will impair your vision, judgment, concentration, and coordination. A driver can legally pass on the right side of another vehicle? A. If the vehicle is waiting to turn left and there is an available passing lane. B. Even if it means driving off the pavement. C. On a narrow bridge. D. At any time. A. If the vehicle is waiting to turn left and there is an available passing lane. If there is an available passing lane, you may pass on the right of a vehicle or bicycle that is turning left or waiting to turn left. It is also legal to pass on the right when driving on a multi-lane road with 2 or more lanes traveling in the same direction. You may never drive off the pavement or main traveled portion of the road to pass another vehicle. Which of the following are used on some highways to direct drivers into the proper lanes for turning? A. Flashing red lights. B. Flashing yellow lights. C. White lines on the side of the road. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. D. White arrows in the middle of the lanes. Arrows may be used to indicate which lanes should be used for specific purposes, such as driving straight or making a turn. If an oncoming driver is heading toward you in your lane, you should A. Blow your horn, steer right, and accelerate. B. Blow your horn, steer left, and brake. C. Blow your horn, steer right, and brake. D. Stay in the center of your lane, blow your horn, and brake. C. Blow your horn, steer right, and brake. If another vehicle is approaching you head-on in your lane, you should first honk your horn to attract attention. If the other driver does not move over, try to escape to the right. If you swerve left and the other driver corrects at the last instant, you will still crash. If a collision is unavoidable, brake firmly and steadily. Every mile per hour you slow down will reduce the impact. Another driver is trying to pass your car. You should A. Pull off the road. B. Signal to the other driver when it is safe for them to pass. C. Check for oncoming traffic and adjust your speed to allow safe passing. D. Speed up. C. Check for oncoming traffic and adjust your speed to allow safe passing. Keep right when another driver begins to pass you on the left. Check for oncoming traffic and adjust your speed to let the passing vehicle move back into the right lane as easily as possible. This sign means A. One-way traffic. B. Divided highway ends. C. Two-way traffic. D. Keep left. B. Divided highway ends. Warning signs are usually diamond-shaped with black markings on a yellow background. They alert drivers to upcoming hazards. This sign indicates that the divided highway is about to end. When sharing the road with a truck, it is important to remember that trucks generally A. Require longer distances to stop than smaller vehicles do. B. Require less time to pass on a downgrade than smaller vehicles do. C. Require a smaller turning radius than smaller vehicles do. D. Require less time to pass on an incline than smaller vehicles do. A. Require longer distances to stop than smaller vehicles do. Because of their size, trucks need longer distances to stop than smaller vehicles do. When stopped for a traffic violation or at an equipment check, the driver must produce A. Proof of insurance. B. Their license. C. Proof of registration. D. All of the above. D. All of the above. When stopped for a traffic violation or at an equipment check, the driver is responsible for producing their license, proof of registration, and proof of insurance. Drivers are required to have all three of these documents in a vehicle when it is being driven. You are involved in an accident and your vehicle is blocking traffic. You should A. Move your vehicle off the traveled portion of the roadway, if possible. B. Not move your vehicle under any circumstances. C. Wait until the police arrive before moving your vehicle. D. None of the above. A. Move your vehicle off the traveled portion of the roadway, if possible. After a minor collision, move your vehicle off the traveled portion of the roadway, if possible. Do not leave the scene of an accident without identifying yourself and rendering assistance. This road sign means A. Side road. B. Keep to the side indicated by the arrow. C. You may drive in the left lane. D. You have the right of way. B. Keep to the side indicated by the arrow. This is a keep right sign. It indicates that a traffic island, median, or barrier is ahead and that drivers must keep to the right of it.